This story begins with the introduction of our protagonist, Yifeng, a mortal cultivator. He explains that cultivators are people who come from another world, and in Yifeng's case, he was sent with a useless system. In a world where immortal cultivators exist, possessing many magical tools and good fortune unlike him, people treat him like garbage. A man compares the protagonist's punches to Og Qingyong and his kicks to Zhang Xinfeng, commenting that Yifeng could become the future martial arts god if he continues like this. We see Yifeng annoyed with the man because he scams people by claiming that the protagonist is the martial arts god and the strongest of all. The man flies into the sky, telling Yi to give him 5 stars for helping him. Then a news screen shows detailed information about the protagonist and why he has a bad system. His skills are based on boxing, swordsmanship, and knife handling. He also possesses other qualities such as money-making abilities, fighting techniques, and forging knowledge. Each of these attributes has an inscription stating that they are on par with the gods. Yifeng trains with a wooden dummy and explains that despite having these attributes, he is inferior because immortal cultivators have better brains than him. In the distance, 2 men spy on Yi while he trains. One asks why they are observing a mortal, to which the other replies that Yi's boxing technique has no respiratory fluctuations and contains the intention of the supreme martial arts. He also tells his companion that Yi is an unmatched martial god, leaving him impressed. We move to a scene where Yi is with his disciples who want to keep an old knife that the protagonist uses. He gives it to them, saying they can do whatever they want with the broken knife. The disciples start fighting among themselves, shouting in each other's faces, claiming that their friendships are over in order to win Yi's knife. As he walks towards his dojo, he thinks about a woman nicknamed the Saint of Saints who goes against his wishes by treating him. The protagonist enters the dojo, and the saint stops him. He comments that without money, it's impossible to continue, so she has the right to leave everything behind forever. The saint blushes, then excitedly bites her finger because of Yi. She had already given up everything for him out of love, stating that Yifeng is worthy of being above 10,000 people, proclaiming him as the true god of martial arts. While Yi is praised, he questions his disciples, asking if he truly is an unmatched god. Then why don't they understand the Tao? They reply that they do understand, that he is playing in a higher league, and it's normal. After this, they tell us the story of the cultivator's world. In the Xinjiang continent, there is great power in immortal cultivators, but this tradition began when an immortal presented themselves to humans. Their name is Trash Ashes, who discovered an unusual version of immortal cultivation. It only took 3 minutes to do it, and since then, the Xinjiang continent hurriedly started a rather large generation of immortal cultivation. 5 years later, in the small city of Jiangping where mortals live and work in peace, they show us a festival, and in the distance, a large lightning strike is seen, signaling that someone has advanced to the realm of the Grand Martial Master. Yifeng looks at that lightning and thinks that the person who managed to advance was very lucky. The protagonist explains how he came to that world, and we travel back in time where he recounts everything in a flashback. He had been playing in an immortal cultivation simulator for 90 continuous hours. He achieved the achievement of Navigator until he died. He reappeared in the simulator with nothing and was initially surprised. According to him, if you crossed to the other world, you were given a system. That's when the scammer appeared. It was the first time they met. The scammer referred to himself as the savior of the navigators, the possessor of the golden finger system. The savior explains to Yifeng what system he will get, which is the martial arts system, one that doesn't belong to the cultivation world. He gives the protagonist his attributes and previously known techniques, and he gets excited because he believes he will become an incredibly powerful god, imagining himself exterminating sects and having a harem of beautiful girls, etc. The savior mentions that he will help he improve his martial arts skills to the maximum and that he has a gym for practice. But he tells him that to do immortal cultivation, he needs an object called a spiritual root. Yifeng was about to ask why he was given a mortal system then, but the savior disappears, leaving the protagonist with shattered illusions. We move to a scene where he goes to a testing center in Jiangping to check if he has a spiritual root. The person in charge of the tests is impressed that the protagonist doesn't have a root since all navigators have one by default. For 5 years, he trained and took the spiritual root tests, but all the results were negative. Despite his attempts to fit in, he was always excluded from the Navigator Society. Resigned, he thought that the best thing to do would be to sell books and have money to survive. Suddenly, a little girl appears with a cultivator. He is impressed and tries to get their attention to become rich. The girl had never seen our protagonist's books, and the cultivator mistakes he for an immortal cultivator due to his refined way of speaking. but she realizes that he is a normal human, so she asks the girl, named Luo Lai, to go somewhere else. Quickly, he stops them by showing a pile of books and says that Luo Lai is a martial arts genius, so she should learn the secrets of fighting by buying the books for 10 gold coins. Luo Lai gets excited knowing that she's a genius and chooses a book called Luminous Whip. But her cultivator sister stops her, telling her that there are better places to spend money. The sister scolds Luo as they are in a critical situation at the castle gate, so she shouldn't have free time to read books. Moreover, she clarifies that they are immortal cultivators, so it doesn't make sense to buy things made by normal humans. He wants to approach and say something, but he doesn't dare to move. At that moment, Luo gets angry with her sister, shouting that she wants to buy the book. Suddenly, she grows taller and more muscular. The cultivator quickly approaches the protagonist and buys the book to satisfy Luo Lai. But our protagonist is completely impressed and terrified by the girl's appearance. They both leave, but he complains that he didn't get paid enough since each book is worth 10 gold coins. But they ignore him. Both sisters leave the city of Jiangping, and Luo asks her sister to read the book together because she has never seen anything like it. The sister agrees and reads the book, being hit by a strong aura of energy emanating from each page. It was an energy that only cultivators can feel. She feels the emotions of the energy, perceiving a loneliness that has only been abandoned by the galaxy, surrounded by enthusiasm for the carnival. The girl wonders what something is trying to fill her gaps, and we see the savior performing a ritual, tearing the girl's clothes. She comments that the book contains pure martial arts. Suddenly, a black octopus-like creature grabs the albino girl, starting to touch her. She was receiving great power. The girl falls to the ground, thinking that all her efforts to advance were in vain. After reading one page of the book, she advanced to the realm of Grand Martial Master in an instant. Luo approaches her sister, asking if she's okay, as she is completely red. The albino girl is now very impressed because Luo Lai was able to understand the protagonist's martial realm before her. The girl believes that the protagonist could be a world-class expert, so she decides to inform her master as soon as possible about the existence of Yifeng. We move to another scene where we see an old man fighting against a gatekeeper. The name of this old man is Lu Qingshan, who guarded the gates of the castle to the Wu Ling realm. Lu used his spear to try to decapitate the wolf but stopped when a strange figure appeared and preempted him. This man thanked him for his efforts in helping him enter the castle without causing much trouble. Lu confronts the man, telling him that the wolf had caused many casualties for months, so he cannot appear out of nowhere to steal the credit, shouting at him, asking where his martial ethics are. The name of this individual is Ning Xuanwu, ancestor of the Xuanwu sect. Both Ning and Lu were willing to fight to the death before the official competition. But Lu is surprised to see Ning release a purple energy from his hand, thinking that the spiritual power Ning absorbed propelled him to the realm of the martial king. We see a flashback where Ning and Lu agreed to face each other in a deadly fight in 3 days. Ning comments that it's a pity that due to Lu's failure, he will be absorbed by the Xuanwu sect. We return to our protagonist. A presenter tries to cheer up the audience but fails, and she believes that rumors of a tournament among cultivators do not motivate them. The audience begins to complain that everything is boring and the pace is not right. We move to a scene at the Qingshan Gate, where we see 2 boys training with their weapons. The 2 argue about their master, who has been secluded practicing for the deadly fight. A fat man with purple hair scolds them, saying that he has been with the master for over 30 years. He praises the master for being indomitable and never being afraid despite being in a crisis. He clarifies that the only difficulty the master faces is his determination, but now he will regain it. Lu bites a sheet thinking about how to defeat Ning Xuanwu, regretting that he spent years in the martial realm and never made any progress. He believes that he will die soon, until one of his students interrupts him, saying that Lan Zhu had something urgent to ask. Lu gives permission, and Lan Zhu enters, sitting in front of the master. She was the cultivator who bought the book from me. Lan tells him everything that happened in the store and with the book. But Lu doesn't believe that a mortal can be a cultivation master. The old man scolds her, saying that she, as a disciple of the Qingshan sect, is not concentrating enough to advance. He continues by commenting that she was deceived by street people and sees her as a fool. Lu opens the book to prove her wrong, and Lan comments that he should calm down because reading it all could be dangerous. The old man is hit by the spiritual energy and is surprised, looking at a distant sun. The book had transported Lu into his mind. It was the enlightened state, as if he were fleeing the fight against the Xuanwu sect. Since becoming a master, no one else has challenged him to prove his strength, unlike Ning Xuanwu. A figure with tentacles appeared in Lu's mind, hitting him and leaving marks on his body. He cried with happiness because he finally made progress. A huge lightning bolt is seen in the distance. He watches the lightning while eating noodles, thinking that the person who advanced is an idiot. Lu looks at the book in amazement, while Lan tells him that he advanced to the realm of the martial king. Lu tells the girl that the opportunity to kill the Xuanwu sect is in the book. Then he gives Lan a mission to find the protagonist so he can continue making more books and pay him with respect. However, Lan feels afraid of the mission, thinking that if she annoys he will destroy the castle. We switch to a scene with the protagonist cooking meat, and he tells us that mortal methods are not popular in this world, but at least he was able to sell the book to 2 cultivators and have a meal. Suddenly, a dog steals a piece of meat, and 3 individuals chase after the dog. The dog shouts at them to stop chasing him or he will kill them. He was betrayed by members of his clan, and his spiritual powers are nearly depleted, but he will still defend himself. He realizes that he is in front of him cooking meat. He believes that he is preventing him from escaping, so he attacks him from behind, proclaiming himself as a prince. However, the protagonist quickly senses his attack and stops him by grabbing his head. He is happy to see a dog in Jiangping City, but the dog sees it as an offense and defends itself by launching its most powerful attack. He is unaffected, and the attack only managed to knock over the plate of meat. The prince is impressed that the attack did nothing to Yifeng, so he begins to fear him. He thought it was impossible for a mortal to rival cultivators. He looks at the dog, considering eating it, but the canine faints from fear. Meanwhile, Lu and Lan are heading back to the city to look free, wondering how strong he is in a one-on-one fight. We now shift to Jiangping Market, where a feminine-looking boy walks wounded while several people shout at him, saying that if they catch him sneaking into the Qingshan Gate, they will kill him. They also insult him for not having anything remarkable and not having spiritual roots. His name is Zhang King, and he throws himself to the ground, lamenting that he has disappointed his uncle, until he interrupts, saying that from his posture, it seems like he's going to take his food. The aroma of the meat reaches Zhang, and he steals all the protagonist's food. He asks him if he was expelled from the Qingshan sect, and he answers yes. Yifeng tells him that he is short of personnel and needs more men, tossing a key towards the martial arts hall. Zhang catches it and sees the protagonist running. The protagonist clarifies that he will just go buy some condiments before going home, even though the boy hasn't accepted to be part of his personnel yet. Zhang thinks there's something wrong with he but ignores it since his priority is finding a job in Jiangping to support his parents. Half an hour later, we see Lu and Lan arriving at a palace, looking for their boss. Lu looks at the strange paintings that hold great spiritual power. The old man says that although the ancestors of Qingshan don't understand a single word, it seems like they are telling him about the disputes between sects, their weaknesses, and strengths specifically. Zhang looks at both of them and asks if they are guests. They introduce themselves, saying they are from the Qingshan sect, which annoys Zhang a little, thinking that they are trying to catch him for infiltrating. He apologizes to them, revealing the truth about his infiltration and begging for his life, but Lan and Lu ask him to stop. They are completely confused and scared. Both the old man and the girl look at Zhang's feather duster, believing it was a test for them to continue evolving as cultivators. They thought their master was a descendant of Buddha, and to advance, they had to get rid of distracting thoughts. Zhang doesn't fully understand the situation, and Lu and Lan offer to help clean. The boy tries to stop them, but he fails. At night, Lu and Lan meet with the protagonist. The protagonist thanks the albino girl for coming back to pay the remaining amount for the book, inviting them to stay for dinner. Yifeng shows Zhang the dog, telling him to cook it for food. Lu tries to perceive our protagonist's cultivation base, but being a mortal, he cannot see it, imagining that he has unimaginable strength. Both of them watch he cooking attentively, praising his knife technique despite it being too ordinary, until Lu notices the wolf and tells Lan to look at it. It was a demonic wolf that devours the sky, one of the rarest types of monsters. Lan comments that if they cook it, it will be dangerous as the demon clan will pursue them for the rest of their lives. The old man tells a story to the albino girl, recounting a rebellion between gods and demons that occurred long ago. The demonic wolves faced 30,000 Buddhas and still managed to survive. The wolf breaks free from the ropes placed by Yi and begs for mercy, which frightens the old man. But he starts crying tears of joy when he sees that the protagonist spares its life, saying that he is truly kind. Lan tells them that it's not the time to be moved and that they should ask the protagonist for a magical weapon. According to them, the knife has impressed the demonic wolf, who are at the peak of martial arts, so Lan begs Yi to lend her his knife and save their sect from extinction. Lu forcefully slams the albino girl's head on the ground, scolding her for exposing the family's greed. Both of them start to fear Feng, thinking he is angry, but he lends them his knife, clarifying that it's not something valuable. They are impressed by how easily the protagonist agreed, but he tells them that he can make more kitchen knives in a day, so there's no problem. He thinks they are pitiful, believing they must be too poor to afford a knife. We switch to a scene with Ning Xuanwu giving an order to one of his servants to send a message to the Qingshan Gate. Ning takes a secret path until he meets a hooded figure named Yu Wuji, who informs him that his greatest concern has come true. He tells him about Lu's progress, who reached the Martial King rank after reading the book. However, Ning responds that he has already held the Martial King rank for 30 years, so it's not a problem. He orders him to get to the point. Yu Wuji talks about Qingshan's movements, who gathered all their disciples in the courtyard. We now move to the disciples. Among them is a teacher named Zhu Yun, complaining about why they were summoned so late. It was a test they had to do. They have to break a seemingly indestructible stone that even with magical weapons, only scratches it. Lu tries to hit the stone with his kitchen knife, but Zhu scolds him, asking why he would attempt it with something like that. The old man thinks he must be careful not to be too forceful since he doesn't know the power of the knife, so he lightly touches the stone with the tip. The stone breaks with a loud explosion, startling everyone and causing a meteor shower. Zhang shows the wolf the shower, and it yells that the meteors are coming towards them, but wonders how cultivators can possess such a powerful weapon. He, from his house, watches the shower, thinking it's a shooting star, making a wish. A harem of many women, all the money in the world, and unlimited food. All the disciples asked what happened. They were scared that the stone could break. Everyone praises him for achieving the sect's greatest feat. Lu falls in love with the knife because of its immense power, and concludes that he is probably above his martial ancestor, Wu Zong. So he orders them to fight to the death against the Xuanwu sect tomorrow. Ning begins to suspect that someone is helping him, as it is impossible to progress so quickly. The leader gives Yu a poison from the ice toad and grants him freedom. Ning meets a woman named Ling Yao and asks her to lead him to the sword cemetery. Once there, she tells Ning that he should never take the sword of demented souls out of the cemetery as it is dangerous. But he doesn't listen and draws the sword, unleashing thousands of souls into the world, which decimate the animal life in the area. Ning clarifies that with the sword by his side, not even the gods can defeat him. All they need to do is break down the gate. The next day, we see three individuals looking for medical supplies. They wonder why the entire city of Jiangping is empty when there are still 4 hours left until the decisive battle between the two sects. One of them, wearing a red ribbon, is relieved that the place is deserted, as the conflict could affect mortals, and the smartest thing to do is to flee. We switch to Yifeng, who is guiding all the citizens to a safe place to watch the fight. He doesn't know which families will be fighting, but he doesn't care as he will make money from the event. The citizens beg for binoculars to get a better view of the event, and the protagonist sells them for gold. After 4 hours, Ning and Lu come face to face near the mountain where the mortals are. The battle begins. They move quickly across the field, and Ning manages to land the first blow on Lu, knocking him to the ground. The disciples quickly rush to help the old man, but he stops them. All of them are far below Ning's level. Lu thinks that if it weren't for the book, he would have died from that blow. Suddenly, Ning asks the old man to show his magical weapon. Lu is frightened, as it was his only chance for a surprise attack. Ning quickly uses the soul-devouring sword and tries to kill him in a single blow. According to Ling's explanation, the sword can only be used once per decade after consuming several lives. The power of this weapon is enough to surpass any sacred object. Everyone starts mocking when Lu pulls out the kitchen knife. Even his disciples, who were not present at last night's meeting, doubt that he can win. Ning's entire family celebrates, believing they will win because they think the broken knife won't do anything. Ning approaches Lu, forcing him to attack with the knife. The old man was about to give up since the sword's functionality is to absorb spiritual energy. So if he uses the knife, all the stored power will be devoured, and it will become an ordinary weapon. He cries in desperation. Quickly, he intervenes, encouraging Lu to attack, as all his wealth depends on the binoculars. However, the protagonist is shouting at him without knowing who they are since he can't see them due to the distance. Lu looks at the protagonist speaking. All he hears is his encouragement. He thinks that he brought the audience to cheer him on in the fight. His morale soars, and he names he as his supreme god. Filled with courage, Lu runs towards Ning, delivers the first strike, easily destroying one of the souls of the sword and injuring Ning. The knife's power was so strong that it destroyed the sword, surprising Ling and even putting the land in danger. Zhu urges everyone to take advantage of the attack to kill all the Xuanwu members, but Lu appears to stop them. Lan questions his decision, but he tells her that he is silently watching. He believes he is there to prevent further conflicts and maintain balance, in order to keep the peace for all the people of Jiangping. After the fight ends, all the citizens leave the place to resume their activities. Later, we see the protagonist walking through a forest and encountering a girl named Peng Ying, who is his childhood friend. He approaches, asking if she came to see her best friend, but she responds that she was sent by her master to find a highly reputable man. She also reveals that she joined the Qingshan sect with some help from a superior, as it was impossible for her to enter even with high qualifications. But now she has fulfilled her dream of being part of the group and learning martial arts. She reveals that the only condition for joining was to never interact with another man again. Then she leaves to leave the protagonist alone. Peng meets her superior, who asks if there is anyone there. She responds that there is only one mortal. He scolds her to continue searching for the martial arts expert, and not to play with other boys. This guy's name is Yu. She clarifies that he is just a mortal who owns a cheap martial arts salon and writes meaningless combat techniques. He begs for forgiveness for talking to another guy, but he forces her to continue searching since finding the expert is his top priority. It turns out that Yu is an envoy from Xuanwu and is looking for the protagonist to kill him for helping the Qingshan family, so he must do it before Ning recovers from his injury. Yu realizes what Peng said, so he asks her for more information about that guy, as the descriptions match the person who helped Lu win. She mentions that he is just a mortal, so Yu rushes to find him, thinking that if he is an expert, he should test him against the Xuanwu family. If he doesn't turn out to be the expert, he can still serve to calm Ning's anger when he recovers. In the Xuanwu sect, we see Ning annoyed, scolding Yu Wuji for not being able to find our protagonist. Yu begs for his life and tells him that the only clue he has is that the expert is in the city of Jianping and owns a gym. Ning doesn't believe him, as he would have known if an expert was living in Jianping since he is the leader of the entire city. Ling offers to help find the protagonist, but Ning refuses because she and he have more important things to do. We switch to another scene where a young man named Wu Chen lands on the roof of the house. Ning tells him that he needs him and that this time there will be no restrictions on his mission. In his gym, we see Zhang worried about the protagonist because he hasn't been seen for days. Zhang enters his room and sees that everything is a mess. He thinks that he must be injured after meeting Peng, so he offers to help him. But he realizes that he was just cooking and drawing. He understands that Feng is not injured from a fight but emotionally, and he laments not being a girl. Zhang asks how he feels after everything Peng said, but he clarifies that they are just friends. Being in a romantic relationship only affects their speed in making money and cooking. He gives Zhang several books to sell because he needs to change the carriage for the next month. In the suburbs of Jiangping, a man begs for help, and Wu Chen silences him by ripping off his head. His goal is to kill the protagonist, and he believes that if someone like Ning wants him dead, then he must be someone strong and capable of satisfying him. An old man appears, advising Wu not to go to Jiangping. The man explains that he is on his way to the city to visit an old acquaintance and tells Wu that he is not allowed to disturb him. Wu tries to attack him for bothering him, but the man defeats him with a single blow because he is in a higher rank than Martial King. Wu Chen narrowly dodges the blow, and the old man is impressed that he was able to dodge it. He deduces that Wu is a cultivator of evil spirits and wonders what object he is taking out. He realizes that it is a sacred stone, an important treasure of an emperor, which should not fall into the hands of evil cultivators. He fears that it may destroy the city. Later, we see Wu somewhat injured, exterminating every gym in Jiangping in search of the protagonist, until he finally finds his house and enters, excited to face a martial arts expert. We are told that the sacred stone is an evil object used by the founding ancestor of the Xuanwu sect, which serves to kill immortals. The power of this stone is capable of tipping the odds in favor of the bearer. We see Ling questioning Ning about why she wasn't sent. He replies that Wu Chen has his sacred stone capable of protecting him from everything, so they can only hope for good news. In the protagonist's gym, we see Wu unleashing a wave of energy against the bulletin board, pondering the perfect spot to destroy the place. Suddenly, he is surprised by a golden aura emanating from the walls, manifesting various combat weapons. Chen takes out the sacred stone, but even with the object in his hands, he receives too much damage. He and Zhang come across the sacred stone and use it to seal a crack at the entrance of the gym. Later, we see he playing Chinese checkers with the old man who fought Wu. He mentions that when they started, he thought they were on the same level, but in person, he can't gauge his level, so he concludes that the protagonist is more powerful. It turns out that they would meet from time to play, and the old man always tried to see through his cultivation to measure his power, but he never succeeded. He tells Yi that there are many secret techniques across the continent, but Yi's ability is unique because no other cultivator can gauge his power as a mortal. However, he clarifies that if someone had such a special ability, they would have to be famous worldwide. He questioned whether Yi is truly better than him, but his thoughts are interrupted by the protagonist saying checkmate. The old man comes across the sacred stone that Yi used to seal the crack and imagines that the evil cultivator who was there was executed. Furthermore, he deduces that Yi placed the stone there as a warning to all those who dare to challenge him. He proclaims he is someone who is in a power league far beyond all cultivators, as he wastes such a valuable object like that. The old man shows the protagonist his sacred weapon, which is a 7-tooth rake. He sought to impress Yi, but his illusions shatter when he tells him that it is rusty and should be thrown away. He comments that he already suspected that Yi wanted a favor but agrees to help improve his rake by taking it to his forge. Zhang enters the forge, notifying Yi that Lu wants to see him again and pay his respects. He tells them to wait and continues repairing the sacred weapon. Meanwhile, Zhu tells Lu that it is too poor of a place for someone to live there. Lu scolds her, saying she should show more respect. She has seen the power of the knife, and if he is angry, the consequences could be serious. But Zhu just dismisses it as an exaggeration. Suddenly, Zhu notices the sacred stone and exclaims that it is the treasure of Xuanwu being used to seal a crack. Lu ignores her and keeps walking, but she tries to stop him by saying that the protagonist's origins can be dangerous. Lu responds for her to stay calm and watch what Yi is doing. She looks towards the forge and sees a golden dragon surrounding the rake while Feng repairs it. Both of them are frightened and try to calm down. Zhu recognizes the rake and tells Lu that, according to legend, it is a magical weapon used by the 9 celestial gods to eradicate demons in Shengjing. They start taking his power seriously because no one should be with one of those gods. They realize that the owner of the rake is having tea. They are impressed by this because users of sacred weapons are above the rank of martial emperor. Zhu recognizes him as the madman who destroyed the 6 cities of Xianjiang but doesn't believe it's him since the legend says he disappeared for 30 years. The old man notices their presence and invites them to have tea. Both of them are confused when he calls Yi his brother, but they accept the invitation. Zhu tries to stop Lu, saying they need to deliver the knife quickly and then leave, but Lu tells her it's already too late. We see Yi finishing forging the rake, making it completely new. Both Zhu and Lu are amazed by the protagonist's power as he managed to restore a broken sacred weapon to its true power. It is revealed that with a sacred weapon in its true power, one can dominate the entire world. Zhu panics when she sees Yi approaching, and Lu asks her to calm down and look at Yi and the old man. The old man is impressed that the protagonist managed to forge a broken sacred weapon and restore the original power of the rake. He realizes that he looked ridiculous when he compared himself competitively to Yi. He tells him that if he wants the rake, he must pay, but he will give a 50% discount. The old man says he can't accept the offer as he gave half of his life to obtain it and he is afraid of losing what is left. However, he tells him that he can have it for free since it's just a simple rake. The 3 of them are surprised that he called it a simple rake, and immediately the old man bows to the protagonist. He is confused about everything that's happening, but the old man assures him that he will cherish the kindness of having the weapon returned for free. Here, we are given the name of the rake's bearer, Wu Yanghong. He excitedly says he will be at Yi's service for life and is willing to die for him. Lu and Zhu are frightened upon hearing the name, confirming that Yanghong is one of the 4 madmen who destroyed the 6 cities of Xianjiang. Suddenly, it starts to rain, and Yanghong makes the oath of heaven and earth. Lu is thrilled to be alive to witness the oath, and Zhu asks what it entails. Yanghong replies that the oath is a type of contract that can only be signed by a martial emperor. Once the contract is made, it cannot be broken, swearing loyalty to someone until death. Lu also tells us that Yi's base power must be too high for someone to make the oath of heaven and earth. Yanghong begs him, saying he will pay him for repairing the weapon. He takes the opportunity to ask Lu and Zhu why they are there, and they give him a gift. It is the treasure of their sect, a fire orb, and he seems to like it. But Zhu and Lu feel sad that he only sees it as a crystal ball. He tells them that he just finished writing a novel and will give it to them as a gift. Zhu grabs it and feels the great martial power emanating from it. She deduces that with these books, Lu was able to advance in rank, so she bows to the protagonist and leaves with Lu. Suddenly, he is interrupted by Zhang, who informs him that he has found the carriage, but the protagonist is scared to see that it is one of the most expensive ones. But he tells him that maybe after the journey, he will come back as a billionaire. Zhang asks what he will do, and he replies that it's a surprise. At the Qingshan Gate, we see Zhu and Lu fighting over the book, the old man trying to prevent her from opening it as he fears that her body cannot withstand the power. He also reproaches her for not believing him at first about Yi's existence. Lu recounts that in ancient times, Jiangping was the place where immortal families practiced, so it is a city with a lot of history. We return to the protagonist, who is in the Chamber of Commerce in Pingjiang. He meets a wealthy man who greets him and informs him that boss Mao is inviting him. He accepts and has tea with Mao, who pretends to be his fan. The protagonist reminds him that if he wrote more books, he should promote them and share the profits. But Mao tells him it's unnecessary because those books don't generate any profit. Yifeng leaves the Chamber of Commerce after Mao started insulting his books. At that moment, a girl named Yuna appears, asking if Ying is the author of the Red Mansion's novel, as she is his fan. Here we learn that Yuna has become addicted to the protagonist's books, but Mao fears that she is neglecting her business classes. Mao tells her that he will not write any more books. Disappointed, Yuna asks why, as Red Mansions made the Chamber of Commerce a millionaire. But Mao gets angry and tells her that the protagonist is just a peasant who helped him because he was poor. He also comments that his priority is to study business. The man sends several guards to take Yuna away and forbids her from leaving until she finishes mastering the business world. In addition to prohibiting her from reading more books, we see Yi sitting dejectedly on the street, and Lan and Luo greet him. They ask why he is sad. After recounting the story for a while, Lan tells him that she didn't expect Yi to write popular novels in Jiangping. Luo gives him some fruits. She was about to tell the protagonist that Lan enjoys reading his novels a lot, but Lan silences her and they start quarreling. He is startled to see Luo becoming muscular again. He ignores everything and eats while listening to the sisters. Lan blushes and fantasizes about the protagonist being the author of those books. She didn't see him as the type of man who would write romance. Luo decides to help her sister, who is in love, and proposes that they can publish the book in the Beifeng Chamber of Commerce, with one condition. He has to give Lan a kiss. The protagonist blushes because it's the first time he has been given such a condition. But in reality, it is to hide the fact that he has no experience with women and has always been single. Yifeng tried to kiss her, but Lan rejects the kiss because she believed that Yi wanted to engage in dual cultivation, a method achieved through kissing to gain more power. However, she clarifies that he can still publish the book in Beifeng. The three of them go to Beifeng and are welcomed by Yingxing, the site's president, who is also Luo's father. Luo gives Xing a hug. Inside the site, Luo feeds the protagonist to have him taste all the dishes they have to offer. Xing is surprised by his patience in dealing with Luo. He asks about Yi's identity, but Lan replies that she cannot reveal it. However, Xing must settle for calling him Mr. Yi. Xing deduces that the protagonist is the revered and praised great Buddha of the Qingshan sect. Quickly, he takes the opportunity to get closer to him and ensure that he feels comfortable. He also tells him that he will do everything possible to publish all of Yi's novels. One of the assistants reminds Xing that the Chamber of Commerce is dedicated to jewelry. Xing kicks him to make him comply and not argue. He expresses his gratitude for the help and then leaves. Several days later, book sales skyrocketed, and they were even marketed outside the country. Lan was reading the book when she is interrupted by Zhu, who asks why there are few disciples in the field. Lan explains that it's because of Yi's book. Zhu gets excited, thinking it's a cultivation book, and steals it to read it. The whole city is in a frenzy due to the popularity of the book, with people wanting to recreate every scene between the two protagonists. We move to a scene with Yu Wuji, who infiltrated Jiangping in search of Wu Chen because he hasn't returned for several days. They are worried that he may have died after encountering the martial arts expert. Meanwhile, the protagonist is cooking vegetables when a Beifeng assistant appears to deliver a golden card containing 100,000 gold. It's the total earnings the novel collected in a month, which surprises the protagonist, who celebrates finally making a lot of money. In the Chamber of Commerce in Pingjiang, the high-ranking officials argue with the president for letting Yi go. Due to this, the company's value decreased, and Beifeng's increased by 20% in just 1 month. Everyone blames the president, and he personally visits Yi to apologize and give him 1,000 gold as compensation for mistreating him and rejecting his novel. However, Yi realizes that the only reason the president of Pingjiang is there is to make a deal and keep the profits. They were trying to scam him again. Yifeng refuses the money from the president, who insists and offers increasingly higher sums. But the protagonist rejects each proposal and shows him the golden card. He states that he will no longer work with him and kicks them out of his academy. After this, Yi goes off to spend his money, leaving everyone in Pingjiang perplexed because the golden card from Beifeng can only be used by high-ranking members, and they were willing to give such a valuable item to him. Meanwhile, in the Wuingsu sect, Ling informs Ning of all the progress. There were no successes in finding Wu Chen, so Ling thinks it's best to consider him dead. But Ning refuses to accept this and sends Ling to accompany Yu with a swiftness scarf to find the protagonist and report his location. Ning asserts that with the scarf on, even if the expert is strong, no one would be able to detect whether the movements made by the wearer are real, thus avoiding the risk of being attacked. Ning wanted Yifeng dead at any cost, as well as to confirm whether Wu Chen is still alive or dead. Later, we see the protagonist bidding farewell to the wolf he nicknamed Wang Kai, asking him to take care of the house in exchange for bringing him bones to celebrate his first earnings. Wang Kai mocks He in his thoughts, as he still believes he is a dog and not a demonic wolf. Wang was thinking of a way to escape, but at the same time he is afraid, as he cannot gauge the level of Yi's power. He is also confused as to why Yi asked him to take care of the house, as the paintings he creates are divine weapons that possess energy capable of frightening any immortal cultivator who approaches. Suddenly, he becomes alarmed by a very strong presence. It was Yu using the scarf for speed. He sensed that Wu Chen had been in that gymnasium and realizes that he died. He knew this through his perception of spiritual energy, which detected the remnants of what was left of Wu. Annoyed, Yu enters to destroy the place and kill Yi, but as soon as he opens the door, the divine weapons react. They release waves of energy that bypass the effects of the scarf and kill Yu, completely disintegrating his body, leaving only his bones behind. Wang Kai witnessed everything and began to cry out of fear. He could see with his own eyes the power of a martial arts god, and he is grateful that Yifeng spared his life and takes care of him. The wolf imagines that Yi left him to take care of the gym not only to heal his injuries, but also to become stronger, so he swears loyalty to the protagonist. We switch to Beifeng's Chamber of Commerce, where everyone is discussing the profits they have gained thanks to Yi. His influence, reputation, and more have brought many benefits to the company, considering it a blessing that Yifeng is with them and not with Pingjiang. Xing thinks it's wise not to offend Yi, and proposes that they increase his profits so that he continues writing novels. He suggests that they keep only 10% of the earnings, while the rest goes to Yi. Everyone accepts the proposal, especially Lan, who has the mission of pleasing the protagonist on Lu's orders, and also because she is in love with him. Later, we see Ning's assistant with his partner, wondering why Yu hasn't returned and fearing that Ning will be angry with him. The vendor offers them an expensive product, which angers the man, and he threatens the vendor by grabbing him by the neck. But Peng's screams startle him. She was reproaching the protagonist for not wanting to see him again and asking why he keeps looking for her. He tells her that she is misinterpreting everything. He was simply on his way to the Chamber of Commerce, and she stopped him. If she hadn't, he would never have realized. Yu approaches Peng, scolding her for talking to other men, asking if she can't get rid of her old and dirty relationships. Peng hugs Yu in front of Yi, saying that she would never be with someone poor and mortal like him, and if she had to choose, she would prefer death. Yu tried to kill him, but Lan and Luo intervene, confronting him and preventing Yi from having to defend himself. Lan tells him that he cannot provoke Yi's anger, as the entire Qingshan sect will cease to exist. He is impressed and spits blood after she hits him. He becomes scared when he sees Luo behind him and receives a powerful punch that buries his head in the concrete. The sisters apologize to the protagonist for appearing out of nowhere and scaring him. Both Yu and Peng can't believe that Lan, Lu's personal disciple, protects and respects a mortal, so they kneel in fear. Angrily, Lan asks Peng for her name, but she refuses to give it and cries. The albino girl checks her stats and comments that Peng is not strong enough to be part of the Qingshan sect. She interrogates her to find out who allowed her to join without authorization. Lan grabs Peng's badge and breaks it, stating that from today onwards, she is expelled from the Qingshan sect. Peng can only laugh through her tears of desperation, exclaiming why they protect a mortal like Yi. Lan slaps her and warns her not to dare provoke Yi again, especially in the name of the Qingshan sect. If she does, she will erase her from existence. Peng falls silent, thinking that she paid a lot of money to be in the sect, but she lost everything because of the protagonist. She still can't believe that he is truly important enough for Qingshan to protect him, so she sets out to find out what's going on. In the enemy sect's lair, Ning Xuanwu meditates with Yao Linger in the martial arts sect. Ning asks Yao Ling if something is troubling her mind, as he senses her breathing is disturbed. Yao Ling expresses her concern, saying that sending Wu Chen and Wu Feng to investigate our protagonist was a wrong move by the sect. If there really is someone in the city with such power, they will definitely kill the two brothers due to their temperament. Saying all this, Yao Linger asks Ning Xuanwu to personally go and find Lu Qingshan's assistant. Yao Linger sets off to find the assistant, and along the way, she stops at a bar and bribes a waiter to tell her about someone who sells books and has a martial arts gym, thus obtaining our protagonist's name and location. Meanwhile, we return to Ari, who arrives at the dojo and brings food for Wang Kai. When Wang Kai sees that the food Yifeng brought him is just leftovers, he walks away and brings him the only bone left from Wu Feng. Seeing the bone, our protagonist believes that Wang Kai stole some meat from someone else and assumes that Wang Kai wants praise for what he has done. On the other hand, Wang Kai believes that our protagonist left him at the dojo to witness the scene and observe what will happen to him if he disobeys. Shortly after, Zhang King finds a piece of cloth and asks our protagonist about the use of that object. Yifeng, upon seeing the cloth, tells Zhang King that it's a rag and that he should use it to dust because it hasn't been cleaned in a long time. While Wang Kai is terrified by our protagonist's intentions, Yifeng takes Wu Feng's bone and throws it to use as a toy for Wang Kai. Yao Linger catches it, trying to take the bone away from the dog and instantly spitting blood. When our protagonist sees this, he quickly approaches Lin to try to help her, offering first aid. Yao Linger refuses our protagonist's help. Yifeng, seeing how he tried to take the bone away from the dog, asks her if that bone belongs to her family. Yao Linger, shocked, believing that our protagonist saw through her, flees in desperation to the Xuanwu Sect temple. While this is happening, Wang Kai believes that with a simple look, our protagonist realized that she was a disguised spiritual martial artist. So he considers our protagonist impenetrable because he must have a high level of cultivation and a very deep mind. Returning to Yao Linger, who has returned to the Xuanwu Sect, she begins to tell them about our protagonist's existence and confirms that Yifeng was responsible for the murder of both brothers. Ning Xuanwu, truly angry, asks Yao Linger to tell him word for word and in detail everything that happened. Yao Linger starts explaining that there was not a single bone left of Wu Chen, but there was still a bone of Wu Feng with the divine power of the Xuanwu clan's cultivation. And completely terrified, she explains that our protagonist was using Wu Feng's bone as a pet toy. Upon hearing this, Ning Xuanwu gets up from his seat and destroys part of a column in the place out of anger caused by the entire situation. While the other members discuss the downfall of two of the clan's best members and how they are destroying the sect's future, Ning Xuanwu asks Yao Linger about the whereabouts of his two treasures. Yao Linger, asking him not to be upset by what she is about to tell him, explains that the sky-devouring stone has been used by our protagonist to fill a hole, while the speed scarf has been used as a dusting rag. Upon hearing these words, Ning Xuanwu hits the table, causing a tremor and small rocks falling. Ning Xuanwu shouts at Yao Ling, asking her to tell him more about what happened, to which she responds that our protagonist is very intelligent, and even though she disguised herself well, he easily recognized her. Yao Linger explains that the protagonist didn't kill her so that she can bring the message to the sect. Ning Xuanwu, truly disturbed, explains to all the members in that place that our protagonist wants to kill them all. Quickly, Ning gives the order for all the Xuanwu sect masters to descend to the city with him to confront and behead him in revenge for the deaths of Wu Feng and Wu Chen, and at the same time, retrieve the two treasures that belong to the Xuanwu sect to cleanse the shame of the past. Ling presents Ning with his deceased soldier, Zhang, who kneels and swears loyalty to his leader. Ning orders him to go to the martial arts gym and investigate what's inside, as well as discover the identity of the master. Ling clarifies that she couldn't see his strength, so it shouldn't be easy for him to achieve it. She warns that our protagonist is the kind of person who can trap him just by breathing. Since the gym is filled with a murderous intent, he must not be hostile at all costs, otherwise he will die just like Wu Chen and Wu Feng. Ning analyzes the situation, realizing that Lu's knife could have been made by the same person, in which case, they must have a higher rank than a martial king. Ning starts to fear what kind of power the protagonist can possess if he gets angry. He approaches Zhang and says that if he manages to return alive, he will make him his personal disciple. If he escapes, then he will hunt him down and kill him and his family, as well as have the freedom to determine how strong his training can be. We go back to Yifeng, who is sunbathing and watching his servant work. He asks him to remove the paintings so they can dry since the weather is humid. He looks at the paintings and thinks they are useless or have no monetary value, but they still serve as decoration. Suddenly, someone calls at his gym. Zhang tells him to stay and rest, that he will take care of everything. But our protagonist tells him to keep working, as not many visitors come to his gym, and he has enough time to handle it himself. So Yifeng goes to the entrance and welcomes Zhang. The latter thinks that the gym is too ordinary and doesn't look different from the rest, even thinking it might be a place for mere mortals. This is because he removed the paintings and the gym sign, which had the murderous energy. Jang criticizes the gym, seeing it as very inferior even to mortal gyms, as the place is cracked and old. Our protagonist approaches Jang, seeing him as a martial arts genius and even willing to offer him a discount to sign up for a few days. Jang asks him how to get to the Xuanwu sect, realizing that he had escaped naturally and starting to fear that he could kill him due to his silence and serious expression. He starts sweating when our protagonist addresses him abruptly, believing he is already dead. However, Yifeng disappointingly gives him the location of the sect. Our protagonist can't believe that they really came to his gym just to ask for directions. Jang is surprised that he is giving him the location of the sect, thinking it's a way to kill him slowly or simply to waste his time. Yifeng is even more disappointed to realize that Jang is looking down on his gym, considering that gesture as a sign that his business is a failure. Jang looks at him carefully and concludes that he is indeed immortal, and Ling and Ning were just exaggerating about him. To confirm this, he decides to insult the gym, saying that it is quite deserted and that he probably doesn't have many disciples. Playing directly into his illusions, Jang concludes that he is immortal because any master with that sarcasm would have attacked or even killed him. Even if he really is a true expert, he looks totally impressed and hurt. Jang finishes by saying that our protagonist should change his martial arts gym into a restaurant so that he might be a little more popular than he is now. He gestures for him to leave quickly, and Jang runs off, confirming that he is immortal. He is happy that he is finally going to be promoted and become a personal disciple of Ning himself. He concludes that all the rumors about our protagonist are just exaggerations, and there was never any hidden murderous intent. Out of nowhere, a voice mentions that it's pathetic to be an idiot at such a young age. After these words, Yonghong lands behind our protagonist, accompanied by several other people. These were martial ancestors, Chu Shiquang, Sun Juge, Lai Mo Zai, and Yonghong himself. Yonghong greets Yi, announcing that he has returned to pay his respects along with his friends. Yonghong asks if they are not bothering him, but Yi replies that he doesn't need to be polite with him. Chu Shiquang, Sun Juge, Lai Mo Zai, and Yonghong follow our protagonist, who leads them inside his gym. He still believes that each of them is actually a farmer who came to him to repair their tools, as he expected them to be the type of people who rake a field. Moreover, they look quite old and unique. Shiquang touches Yonghong's shoulder, asking if he is really the hidden martial artist he mentioned. Huang believes our protagonist is immortal since he can't see his cultivation. For him, it is an insult that the ancestors present themselves in the gym of a mortal whom they don't consider worthy. Lai Mo asks the same question, wanting to see the martial board as he senses an extremely pure martial intent compared to that of a god. The ancestors, except for Yonghong, are very disappointed with the place. They had too high expectations based on everything Yonghong told them. The latter gets scared and tells them to be careful with what they say, reminding them that he showed them his sacred rake and was kind enough to bring them here. He adds that they shouldn't be criticizing the gym, and if they're going to be like that, they should just leave since he doesn't want to cause trouble for Yifeng. Juge notices that the sacred stone of the Xuanwu sect is on the ground, and Lai Mo gets excited to see that it is being used to cover a crack. So the ancestors start to regain some of the expectations they had about Yi, considering him a formidable man for the way he treats the imperial weapons. But they are still curious about what he is capable of. Lai Mo says that the long journey to the gym won't be a waste. Zhang hangs the paintings again. Lai Mo observes the sacred scarf, and they start to get nervous about which side he truly belongs to. Huang asks where he could get such good things, to which he only replies that it's a rag he uses to clean the gym. He leaves the ancestors perplexed, who start to respect him and apologize to Yi, saying not to be offended by today's surprise visit. He tells them to stop and says they shouldn't be so cordial since they are from the same city. When Zhang finishes hanging the last painting, the powerful spiritual energy of the gym is unleashed, frightening the ancestors but also inspiring them with its pure sacred energy. He observes them and is confused by the situation. He doesn't understand why they are so excited and thinks that they are constantly rejected because they are ugly. The protagonist invites the masters to sit at the entrance of the gym to have tea and play chess. They accept and start to be affected by the strong martial pressure in the place. They feel breathless and become agitated, concluding that he may be an immortal warlord to possess such power. Lai Mo can't withstand the pressure anymore and sits outside to calm down, and the other ancestors follow him. People start to look at them strangely, murmuring that they are too old to be disciples of someone like he. He returns with Zhang, bringing tea and the chessboard. The protagonist asks why they are outside the gate, to which Kwang replies that they arrived in a hurry and have muddy feet, so they don't want to dirty the gym. He orders Zhang to hang the chessboard and help the masters get comfortable while he prepares lunch. Zhang agrees and goes to hang the board. The ancestors start to cry when they see the chessboard, saying that his words have deep meanings. They conclude that the protagonist knew they wouldn't be able to comprehend the martial energy of the gym, so he left them the chessboard. They are amazed by such a gentle energy that reminds them of the Virgin Mary. Back at the Xuanwu sect, the presumed dead person returns alive and reports everything that happened at the gym. He recounts that he is actually an ordinary mortal. Ning asks if he is lying because he doubts that could be true. However, the spy swears on heaven and earth, stating that there is nothing abnormal about the gym and that Wu Cheng and Wu Feng are not dead but kidnapped. It's impossible for a mortal to have defeated them, even with their sacred objects. Ling begins to suspect that it could be a trap to make them believe he is defenseless. He tries to tell Ning, but the latter says there's no need. All he has to do is enter the gym since he wants to see for himself what happened to Wu Cheng and Wu Feng. Ning orders the entire sect to attack the protagonist's gym all at once. The villagers start to flee when they see the stampede. Ling informs Ning that there are some old people sitting at the entrance, referring to the ancestors, but they don't recognize them and think it's some kind of trick. Ling orders that he will go in first to kill you while the others should take care of killing all the members of the gym. Ning runs towards them, ready to kill, shouting that they are old, blind, and deaf. Yang Hong gets annoyed as he was interrupted during his peaceful meditation. It's then that Ning, approaching closer, realizes that they are the ancestors. Ning reveals to us that Lai Mo possesses a fortune abacus, a sacred weapon of heaven and earth. Shi Kuang is a madman who massacred his own sect and used their skulls as decoration for his clothes and weapons. Zhuge is someone who was born with a deformity but practiced dark martial arts and changed his destiny. Yang Hong is the possessor of the sacred rake after massacring an entire city out of anger towards the martial artists there. Ning panics about what he has done and wonders why the four ancestors are there since, according to their legends, they disappeared and were never seen in the world. He tries to escape, but it's too late. Zhuge grabs his foot to prevent him from escaping, and Ling and all the sect members rush to fight against the ancestors, but a barrier appears and prevents them from getting close. Ling smashes his face against the barrier. Zhuge tells them that he cleared the martial artists from the gym, and they are trying to cause trouble, so they will die for it. Zhuge conjures a skull above each sect member and disintegrates each one of them, except for Ling, who manages to survive but is severely weakened. Immediately, Ning surrenders and tries to explain that he didn't intend to harm them but to destroy the gym. Huang gets angry and tries to kill him, but he is stopped by Yang Hong, who tells him that if he kills Ning here, it would dirty his gym and make him angry. Ning begs for his life, even hitting himself in front of them and kneeling. The ancestors discuss what to do with him, and Ning remains attentive because they are talking about the true owner of the gym. Lai Mo warns Ning that they could kill him right now for interrupting his meditation, but they won't do it on his land. Ning continues begging for forgiveness, wondering who could have the ancestors as gatekeepers of their gym. Huang asks if he is Ning Xuanwu. Ning confirms that he is, and Kwang comments that not even their strongest ancestor would dare to have trouble with them. The conversation is interrupted by Yi, who comes out and announces that he forgot to buy some eggs. The ancestors apologize to him, addressing him as Sir. Ning starts sweating and trembling when he hears them refer to Yi as Sir Yi. Ning looks at our protagonist with fear, deducing that if the ancestors are willing to be his disciples, then he must be someone far above the gods. He concludes that, no matter how hard he tries, he is unfathomable, and he will always lose intellectual battles against him. The ancestors feel relieved, believing that Yi was expecting such an attack and won't be angry. The protagonist looks closely at Ning, recalling his past life when he was harassed by the elderly. Zhuge asks the protagonist what he will do with Ning, and Ning feels absolute despair, leaving his life in his hands. Yi Feng questions why he should decide, and Zhuge replies that it's his martial arts gym, so he has the final say. He tells Ning that he made a mistake and must endure the corresponding consequences. He humiliates Ning by saying that he can't help but give the younger generation a chance. Whether he learns from the lesson or not will depend on his own destiny. After that, the protagonist tells everyone that he is in a hurry and will leave the situation in the hands of the ancestors. He runs off to buy the eggs, relieved that he finally managed to escape, as finding faults in the elders is quite problematic. It's a lesson he learned from the past. Everyone is impressed by the protagonist's words and decisions, and Ning is glad that he is still alive. However, the four ancestors think it's some kind of teaching that they need to decipher. They believe it's a clue to keep observing Ning. They continue debating what it meant, as one mistake will not only affect you but the destiny of all of them. They imagine it as a way for you to express his anger. Ning asks the ancestors if he can leave now. Mo sighs, saying that they almost made a big mistake. He also comments that he is very considerate not to want to embarrass the younger generation. Kwang adds that their task is to punish the younger generation sincerely, unlike what they did to the rest of the sect, which they massacred. Yonghong asks Ning to take out his storage bag, and Ning obeys, thinking that he doesn't mind handing over the bag as long as he has the sect's last treasure stored in it. It might be his only chance to return and kill Yi. Ning gives the bag, explaining that it contains all the sect's resources and he hopes it's a way to fix all the mistakes. Yonghong orders him to stand up and throws the bag to Lai Mo. Ning stands up and quickly tries to escape, exclaiming that he won't bother them during their lunchtime. However, Juge and Yonghong join forces to unleash a celestial poison on Ning's remaining arm as punishment. Juge clarifies that the poison will spread throughout Ning's body for 3 days. Ning begins to curse everyone for losing his last remaining arm. Juge exclaims that he heard it already. He didn't want to directly take his life, just punish him with something mild, and whether he survives or not depends on his luck. After these words, Juge finishes Ning off with a strong punch that sends him flying. Later, in the Xuanwu hideout, we see Ning beating up his spy, who pleads that it was a misunderstanding and tries to explain everything. This only angers Ning further, and he kicks the spy to the ground, shouting that he didn't misunderstand anything. One of the Sect students asks Ning what they should do. They are the only ones left in the clan and can still avenge all the fallen if they manage to recover the scarf and the Devourer of Heavens. But Ning tells them that he can't seek revenge with his only hand poisoned. Out of rage, he kicks the spy in the stomach, brutally impaling him. The Elder exclaims that it's the end of the feud between the clan and Yi's martial arts gym. Anyone who offends Yi's gym will end up the same way or worse. Ling asks what's inside the gym and why everyone was disintegrated in the blink of an eye with such great force. Ning gives a speech to all those remaining in the sect, saying that in terms of absolute strength, they can do nothing. They have no choice but to let go of hatred, but they must continue to monitor the Qingshan sect. Ling questions him as she doesn't understand what Ning is trying to say. Ning reminds them that the Xuanwu and Qingshan sects have been at odds for thousands of years, but they always maintain balance in everything. Until the protagonist arrived, he never imagined that an isolated power pretending to be immortal descended from the sky to the earth. He also adds that Lu Qingshan became friends with Yifeng and was rewarded with a sacred weapon. He concludes that if the Xuanwu sect continues like this, they will be exterminated by Yi or the Qingshan sect. The only thing they can do is the same as them, please and get close to Feng. Ning approaches Ling and tells her that with her beauty and charm, she can seduce him, so he convinces her to become his woman. He knows it's embarrassing for her, even treating her like his own daughter, but unfortunately, even if he doesn't want to sell her, the future of the sect is in her hands. Ling blushes and responds that it's not that she doesn't want to, she is just afraid that something will go wrong and the sect will end up being exterminated. She also asks what would happen if she ends up not liking him. Ning motivates her by saying that he didn't teach her the word fear when he raised her. To achieve great things, one needs a lot of courage. He knows that she has always admired the strong, and this proposal is not a loss for her at all. If she loses sight of the overall situation due to fear, then how does she intend to govern the Xuanwu sect? Ling remains silent, analyzing her master's words, and eventually accepts the proposal. Later, in the Pingjiang Chamber of Commerce, we see Yuna's father sitting and reflecting. The Chamber of Commerce was about to go bankrupt after rejecting Yifeng's book. He requests Yuna to come, and she wonders why her father called her so urgently, face to face. The man asks her about what she thinks of Yifeng. She replies that although she doesn't know him, she feels that being the author of the country's most popular novels, he must be a handsome young man. She blushes as she says this. Her father is impressed and tells Yuna the truth. The Yifeng Chamber of Commerce surpassed Pingjiang in sales with a single book, The Supreme Treasure. Because of this, the first level Chamber of Commerce project has begun, and he asks his daughter to have a good relationship with Yifeng. He was willing to sell her to save her life due to his bad decision. Yuna understands and tells him that she is willing to be with Yi since she imagines him as a good man. We see her getting ready and preparing to meet him. The same happens with Ling, who dresses provocatively and applies a substance called honey trap, which helps to make men fall in love. But if that fails, then it will depend solely on Yi falling for her beauty. Later, we see Yifeng returning from shopping and entering his gym. Zhang comments that the 4 ancestors left all those things for him. They said that half of those gifts were thanks for today's teaching, and the other half was for repairing the rake. Kai is quite happy surrounded by the sacred treasures since they are very difficult to obtain for any ordinary cultivator. The wolf thinks that only the protagonist is capable of acquiring treasures of that caliber without even making a single move. Yifeng approaches the items and begins to inspect them. He sees each of the objects as damaged trash and mentions that he prefers to have money since he can't even use the objects as toys for dogs. The protagonist finds an object that catches his attention and takes it. Kai becomes alarmed and looks at it intently. We see Yifeng cosplaying as a girl and reciting fragments of a song from that world. Zhang and Kai look at Yi with confusion. The latter tells them to forget what he did, proclaiming them as uncultured people for not understanding the art called cosplay. He decides to place all the items in the utility room with Zhang's help. After a while, we see Kai fearfully observing the utility room because, ever since he opened the door, a terrifying and dense aura has been emanating from inside. He pets the canine, and Kai starts to wonder what could be inside to have such a heavy dark energy. At the same time, he thinks it must be something insignificant to the protagonist. Then we are shown Lan and Yingxing, the representatives of the Baofeng Chamber of Commerce, calling the protagonist to invite him to a poetry conference held annually in the city. Lan reminds Yin to be very careful because the protagonist stayed in the city to fix the overall situation of the world and understand the lives of mortals. Offending him is almost taboo. Yin replies that he already knows, and he opens the door to welcome them. They tell him everything, and he comments that in previous years, the criteria for participating in the poetry conference was very high, so he is confused that the president personally gave him an invitation. Yin reveals that his book, Supreme Treasure, has now become a popular and internationally recognized name. It has become one of the greatest and representative literary figures Jiangping has had in years. Yin looks quite excited while telling this to the protagonist. He hands over the invitation and adds that there is still time for him to show up at the meeting. If he goes, it would be a great blessing for the event. He accepts and plans to test the audience. He wants to see if the cultural knowledge of this world is deep enough or if they only care about generic things. Several days later, the annual poetry conference takes place near the Chengxi River in the city of Jiangping. Talented young people from all over the country gather here, judging people not by their background, lineage, or strength, but solely by their literary ability. The audience is excited that the four great talents of Jiangping will write a poem together. The four competitors recite their poems, competing against each other, while he observes them from the audience, completely disappointed in how they write, unlike the audience who considers them very talented. One of them claims to be the best talent in Jiangping, angering the protagonist. He grabs the person by their shirt and tells them to wake up. He starts to leave angrily. We see Ling surrounded by men reciting poetry to conquer her. She sees our protagonist and thinks to herself that she has learned about Yi's work and habits. As long as she doesn't ruin the protagonist's original intention of experiencing a mortal life, she will continue to maintain a low profile. Ling approaches Yi and then pretends to stumble and fall, hoping he will catch her. However, Yi hesitates and evades her, leaving the citizens to catch the girl. They blush and express their love for her, but Ling knocks them away, trying to find Yi. We move on to a scene with Yuna, who has a portrait of Yi. She is searching for him and manages to find him. She approaches him, introducing herself as the daughter of the president of the Pingjian Chamber of Commerce. He greets her but ignores her, annoyed, believing that the Chamber of Commerce wants to convince him to return after the scam. Yuna tries to explain, but she is interrupted by Ling. Ling speaks arrogantly, saying that Yuna looks ridiculous after what they did to Yi, yet she still tries to get his attention. Annoyed, Yuna turns around and yells at Ling, saying that she is the only ridiculous one, and asks for her name. The two face each other, both stating that neither of them is worthy of being with Yi, while the men look at them with infatuation. One of them shouts that one of his friends may not have a good appearance but can favor those two girls. The young man has a lemon-shaped head and recites a poem to try to conquer them, earning praise from his friend. Suddenly, someone shouts the protagonist's name. He turns around and sees that it's Peng, who is once again reproaching him for following her after he ruined her work. He ignores her and continues on his way, but Peng insists that he face her after humiliating her like that, as she won't let him get away with playing the hero and having the ego not to talk to her because of a book he wrote. She also tells him that Lan is not there to protect him, emphasizing that he is just a mortal and she can kill him if she wants. Everyone is impressed by this argument. She continues to belittle the protagonist, insulting his gym, his friends, and even calling him a failure whom no woman would be interested in. He turns around to confront her until Peng receives a slap and falls to the ground. It's Yuna protecting him. He looks shocked at the situation, and Peng gets angry. The citizens wonder if a mortal really dared to hit a cultivator. He stands in front of Yuna to defend her, even willing to use his martial arts. But once again, Peng receives another slap that knocks her down. This time, it's Ling. Peng interrogates her to know who she is, but Ling simply says that she is a fan of the protagonist. Peng's anger reaches a point where she stands up and uses her abilities to try to kill both of them, not believing that he is really that important. Ling mentions to the protagonist that it's not appropriate for a gentleman to interfere in women's affairs, so she asks him to leave it to her. Yuna exclaims that she is just taking advantage of the situation to gain an advantage. Peng tells the two of them that they are foolish mortals who have disrespected her, and that they will need a severe punishment. Yuna replies that she wasn't referring to her. Angry, Peng shouts that it's too late to repent and that Yuna slapped her. She demands that Yuna kneel, and when she doesn't obey, Peng releases a spiritual energy aura. She draws a sword and looks at Ling, thinking that she gave her an even stronger slap and deserves the worst death of all. Peng tries to stab her, but Ling easily stops the sword with her fingers, impressing Peng, who can't believe that a mortal actually stopped her attack. Ling spins the sword and disarms Peng, asking if her sword is difficult to handle. She humiliates her, saying that a level 9 martial artist who can't even handle her own sword doesn't deserve to be called a cultivator. She tells her that if she's worthy, starting to deliver a series of slaps that gravely injure Peng. The latter contemplates Ling's identity. Ling comments that with such little energy, she's not surprised that no sect accepted her. Peng falls to her knees, wounded, saying that she doesn't deserve such treatment. But Ling doesn't care. He watches all of this from a corner, thinking that women's fights are terrible. The citizens watch as Ling kicks Peng into the water, fascinated by her aggression and strength. Ling approaches the protagonist to greet him with a bow. He returns the greeting and thanks her for her kindness and help. The protagonist tells her that he remembers her from the martial arts hall and thinks she's his fan. She blushes but is surprised that he actually recognized her, suspecting that's why he initially avoided her. He tells them that everything is fine, thanking Yuna for her help as well. Ling feels inferior to the protagonist and believes that no one from the Xuanwu sect is worthy of her attention. He invites both of them to dinner as a gesture of affection. Yuna is surprised by his politeness. They both accept, while the villagers in the background are saddened by not having the protagonist's luck. Later, we see Peng sitting on some stairs, crying. Wu Jai appears and mistakes her for someone else, punching her. He yells at her, asking who she is and why she is wearing Peng's clothes. She tells him that she is Peng and begs him to chase after Yifeng and kill him as revenge for damaging her face. However, Wu kicks her, exclaiming that her face is already ruined from the punches and he won't help her because she is ugly. Regretting not being able to touch her when she was still beautiful, he also feels disgusted with himself for being so unlucky. Peng starts crying, looking at Wu. She thinks that he is looking at her the same way Lan and now Ling did, saying that they are all the same and will always see her as someone worthless to harass. She laments what she did wrong to deserve such treatment. All she wanted was to cultivate peacefully and have control over her life, and she worked tirelessly so that Wu could be proud of her and have reasons to want a good life with her. She shouts if she is asking for too much and gets up to grab Wu, saying that he is treating her like filthy mud that he trampled on. Wu tells her to remove her hands, but she throws herself into the water with him, sickly stating that she will be attached to him forever, and that he will never be able to get rid of her. She doesn't hesitate to drown both him and herself. Wu tries to fight for his life, while Peng reflects on her life, saying that if there is an afterlife, she will make everyone pay dearly. Back with he watches Kai with fear and hugs him, asking why he has been acting so strange lately. He looks around the room with dark energy and tells the canine that he already knows what he wants. Mating. He believes that it's Kai's mating season. Zhang asks him how the conference went. He tells him everything and informs him that he will go look for the women to hang out with. At dusk, we see Ling walking through the city, leaving all the men in awe with her dress. She thinks about Yuna, considering her stupid but physically attractive, and doubts who he might be interested in. So she plans a way to quickly establish a good relationship with the protagonist before Yuna does. Ling arrives at the gym, realizing that the dinner is her only opportunity to become the leader of the Xuanwu sect and the leader of them all. She enters, and we see Zhang training. Kai starts sneezing and immediately suspects that there is an immortal present because the scent of that cosmetic is not that of a mortal. Zhang realizes it too and informs her that Yifeng is not there because he went to look for young women at Yihang Academy to fight against the owner. Ling approaches, asking what he means by fighting the owner. He replies that it's a matter between men and women, creating a misunderstanding. Ling tells him it's okay and understands that he can't say it, adding that she will thank him later by bringing a girl. She thought that the protagonist would be dense when it comes to love but likes that he's not decent deep down. There, she looks at the Sect scarf and tries to take it, but she is interrupted by the howl of a wolf. Kai and Zhang quickly stop her, with the latter wielding his spiritually empowered knife, threatening her to drop the cloth. Ying asks him what he will do if she doesn't, and Zhang raises his knife, shouting for her to obey, unleashing a golden aura that brings Ling to her knees and frightens her. Ling looks at the knife in fear, admitting that neither the stone nor the scarf are rivals compared to the pressure emitted by the knife. Ling tries to estimate the power of the knife and believes it could even be a level above the sacred. She returns the cloth to Zhang, and he tells her not to dare steal anything from the gym while he is present. If she tries again, he won't show mercy next time. Ling begs for forgiveness and says she won't do it again, noticing Kai's laughter and getting annoyed by it. She thinks he's just an ordinary wolf, but Kai demonstrates the same power as he, defeating Ling in just one strike. She can't believe that a dog actually beat her and falls to the ground, realizing that it's not a normal dog but a demonic wolf. She never imagined that the power level of Yi's gym would be so great that the wolf serves as its guardian. Meanwhile, in the Chamber of Commerce, we see Yuna with her father. He gives her artifacts and scents that can help her win his love. Among them, there is a vial that can instantly ignite a man's love. At first, she hesitates, but remembering that she is competing with Ling for the protagonist's heart, she takes the object to perform a ritual. And that's how the first part of this manhwa ends. If you've reached this part of the video, let me tell you that you're one of the few people who made it here. So comment the word 10,000 in the comments. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss any videos. With that said, see you in the next video.